So principals, superintendents, I need you to be like that dad. I need you to tell your teachers and tell your students and tell your community, black males will graduate high school at our school. They will be successful. Brown males will be successful. We will have a successful school. There is so much power when the leader believes something. When the leader believes it and they say, I don't care what happens, I promise you this is what it's gonna be, it will manifest itself. Trust me, I know. I was a principal of a school. When I first got there as an AP, the graduation rate was mid-60s. I said, no. I was responsible for the seniors. I said, no. I refused to be a part of a high school that the graduation rate is at 60%. By the time my second, third year as assistant principal, I got bumped up. Third, fourth year, I don't remember. Third, fourth year principal, I got bumped up to be the principal. I took everything, all my energy, all of my efforts, everything that I was doing as an assistant principal, everything I did as a school counselor, all the things I've done to create success for young men of color, and I brought it to scale. But the reason why we were able to get that graduation rate from 65, where the state was looking to take it over, to 87% when I left, was because of my will as a leader of the building to say, this will not happen on my watch. Hella high water. Our kids will be successful. They deserve a quality education. That was my belief. And that has to be your belief system. It has to be your visceral belief that the kids will be successful no matter what because you're there. So, principal, I need you to be like that dad. Superintendent, I need you to be like that dad. And say, I won't give up on my kids. I won't give up on my students. They will be successful. All right, can we get to the work now? Somebody said, what? What? You've been talking for over 30 minutes. We didn't get to the work yet. I said I was laying foundation. Come on now. Work with your boy. So, how do we define culture? Culture is defined as the learned belief, values, rules, norms, symbols, and traditions that are common to a group. Culture is a dynamic and transmitted to others. It's the way of life and customs and scripts of group of people. But basically, the culture is how we do things. I'll say this to any new principal. You take over a school for the first year, and I digress. My heart really, really goes out. Principals, please, for real, if you're listening to this, man, listen, call me. Because if you're a principal, and I get a lot of phone calls, so you don't have to just call me. There's so many other brothers that do this, so many other sisters that do this, The problem I see, though, is find people who've done the work and find people who's done the work that's current in practice. School ain't, you can't run the school the same in 2021 the way you did in 1983. By God, I just, come on, man. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just telling you things have changed. Geez, stop getting so offended. Just telling you that there's a change. Right? The way principals have to even evaluate teachers, there's a change. So, you want to talk to people that are current. But there's some things in leadership, so, call whoever you want. But, if you want help, call me. So, principals, you want to make sure we talk about understanding data, the quantitative data, that's the numbers, what's going on in the school as far as how the kids are performing. But you also need to know And I said this in the first video, and I say this everywhere I go when I talk to principals, you need to know the qualitative data of that school. That is the culture of that building. What are the norms and values of that building? What is it that people say about that building? What are the traditions in the building? Not the pep rally. Not just the picnic. What are the norms? You have to know what that culture is. So before you start to make changes, you get excited. You just walked into that joint and you're like, ooh, I just finished listening to Dr. Abraham. I got my why in place. I got everything in place. I'm about to start pressing all these buttons and changing things and hitting levers and, ooh, I'm in it now. They will run you up out of that school. You have to know how people operate. And then when you make changes, please make incremental changes for sustainability purposes. What do you mean? Make small changes, just small little changes, and get yourself little wins. Don't take on every big fight right away. You got to build some credibility with the people. They got to trust you, or they will Game of Thrones you. Hey, listen, hey, shout out to Game of Thrones. I'm a slow starter, and it takes me time to watch shows and get involved in things. But that Game of Thrones, if you want to know about leadership on some like what'll happen to you if you mess up principles, this might not happen to like in that level. But Game of Thrones is a great series on leadership. And I just be sitting there watching, binge watching, taking notes. Yeah, I think my guy, what's my boy? The philosopher. He said, "Mama, I'm Game of Thrones with it, Mama." That was Drake. He said that. But it is so important. Leaders make incremental changes. All right. So, in a culture, and as a leader, you might have, there's two big issues a leader with regards to culture that you want to make sure that you're cognizant of. And that's ethnocentrism, which is simply, this is the thought process that says, I'm looking after my own first. It says this is the tendency to place where a leader has their group at the center of their observation of others in the world. Ethnocentrism can be a major obstacle to effective leadership because it prevents people from fully understanding or respecting the viewpoints of others. For example, if one culture values individual achievement, it may be difficult for that person to understand collective work. So you want to, as a leader, when you're looking at the culture of the building, the person that you need to know, the culture you need to know more than any other culture is your culture. You see that long pause for effect? You need to know your culture. Your culture is so important. You need to know the values you're walking into the building with. You need to make sure that when you're thinking about how you're moving the school forward, what do I value? What's important to me? The next one is prejudice. In the context of prejudice, we're talking about is a largely fixed attitude, belief, or emotion held by an individual about another individual group that is based on faulty, unsubstantiated data. It refers to judgments about others based on previous decisions or experiences. This involves inflexible generalizations that are resistant to change or evidence to the contrary. So when I'm talking about, oh, black males could do this and brown males could do this and they could do this, we're trying to address prejudice. And we all have them. And prejudice could be good or it could be bad. Prejudice are fixed views that have unsubstantiated proof, right? Like you're just saying, hey, this group is like this. But there's a lot of us that have somewhat positive prejudice that we won't admit. Like when I was a principal, my Asian kids, my kids that from, my Asian babies, for the most part, we always thought that they were just great at math and great at science. I had one young lady, she was Asian, she came in, and her math grade was off, and I was like, what is going on? I'm sorry, y'all, I got my prejudice too. Stop playing games. Like, don't judge me. What's going on, girl? What's going on, May? You should be passing this class. And she like, oh, I hate math. It was a shocker to me. I had to check my prejudice. I had to check my own stuff. So leaders, when we talk about how to create a high-performing culture, I'm laying the foundation. You have to understand, you leader, you have to understand your prejudice. You have to understand what, who are you kind of liking and associating yourself with? What are your values that you bring to the table? So, how do we create a high-performing culture through a pandemic and have high academic success? Number one, you have to understand the culture. That is, know your data. That's the quantitative, but also know the qualitative data. Number two, to create a high successful culture and to move the building from a failing school to a high-performing school, you have to create a sense of urgency. If your house was on fire, you wouldn't haphazardly get water. You wouldn't haphazardly call 911. It would be a frantic, 911, hurry up, the building is on fire. It would not be this, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. Right? We would be going crazy to get water to the building. Why? Because there will be a sense of urgency. So principals and leaders, you have to create a sense of urgency. Right now, we need change now. Success needs to happen now. Kids can no longer fail. There needs to be intensity. Number three, you must have we talk about how do you create a high-performing culture in spite of a pandemic. Principals, if you want to purchase, or school leaders, if you want to purchase this entire video, please email me below. It's only $10. We'll get the entire video out to you. Secondly, we have a 10-week coaching session where we go through a cohort model and we give you all the strategies necessary for your school to be successful. And lastly, if you want to be a part of the one-on-one sessions where my team and I come into your school and we look at your data specifically for your school and what you have going on, we would love to do that and make sure that we help you take your school from where you are now to where you ultimately want to go. Again, this is Dr. Mark Abraham, President and CEO of MEA Consultant Services LLC. Until next time, have a great day.